Today's episode is brought to you by Bet Online. Bilal, you interested in hearing what the odds are for who the next head coach of the New York Jets is going to be?
I need to hear it.
Bill Belichick is the favorite, according to Bet Online, 2-1. Mike Vrabel, 5-1. Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator from the Lions, 6-1. Bobby Slowick, 8-1. Todd Monken, the OC from Baltimore, he's 10-1. Joe Brady, the new OC, who obviously is in Buffalo now, 11-1. So lots of guys on this list. I don't see your guy Rex Ryan on this list.
No, they need Rex.
You can bet on it and find all this information on Bet Online. Go to Bet Online. I bet the odds the Jets are still the favorites to land Davante Adams. So I like those odds. I think that'll happen later today. Of course, the moment we stop recording, it'll probably happen because that's how these things work. But go to Bet Online today and use the code BLEAV when you sign up. You could get in on our game of mega contest to win up to $200,000, pick 'em. So whole bunch of stuff. Or you could go to the online casino online with a game of poker, blackjack. Whatever you do, Bet Online. The game starts here. Welcome back to the Believe in Jets podcast. My name is Rami Lavi, and I am joined by my guy, former Jets running back, Bilal Powell. Bilal, breaking news. We got to start here. Drake May is going to be starting for the New England Patriots on Sunday in their next. No, I'm kidding. That is true, but we're not going to start there. Saleh got fired yesterday. You texted me what he's listening. They're listening to the fans, which you know what they say. If you listen to the people who are sitting in the seats, you're going to end up sitting with them. But when you own the team, I guess you could do whatever you want. So I'm not sure it's a great idea for him to be listening to fans and making these decisions. But what was your initial reaction when you heard the news?
I was shocked at the news because that was something that Woody Johnson has never done before, even with ugly starts previously, in his time owning the New York Jets. We will see what type of move this will be coming up playing this week. We'll talk more about that with the Bills, but there had to be some change. I wasn't expecting that change from the owner to fire the head coach. But obviously, if he fired the head coach, then there probably were conversations had that maybe he lost the team and they were looking to find someone else to step into that role as a head coach.
Yeah, he clearly lost the team, and that's a big part of it. And I guess we'll see what happens, but it's the same stuff over and over again. We've been talking about this, you and I, for 2 years, right? And it's been happening for longer. The penalties, they're not prepared. Players talking in social media. And then you watch on Sundays, and he just mopes around on the sideline. They hired this fiery guy from San Francisco. Where was that guy? He's just, moping around on the sideline. Rodgers comes off the field, doesn't say anything to him. We talked about another thing, like the victim mentality. I'm saying, oh, it's not my fault. That translates to the players when nothing's your fault, but the same penalties over and over again. Last year, they go to London, or 2 years ago, they go to London. They get out to 20-3 they're down 23 at the half. They do the same thing. He never self-corrected himself. They were down 17-0. So it just seemed like over and over again, he wasn't doing anything to become better as a head coach. So why wait around? Just fire him, right?
Yeah, just fire him and get it out the way. I think Woody saw what I've been seeing and what you've been seeing, that on paper, this is probably one of the best teams that he saw what we were seeing. He definitely saw what we were seeing. We saw a very talented team on paper, and he saw the opportunity that has presented itself moving forward, getting the chance to go play Buffalo Bills for a chance to contend and be number one in the division, knowing that next year this team will not look the same. This is probably one of the most talented teams you're going to have in New York probably for the next 5, maybe 10 years. Like, this is a loaded team, and you cannot waste any more opportunities.
Yeah, and that's why the timing, some people were saying it's early. It's not early. It's been 3.5 years. So, it's not like this is a new thing. It's just not, oh, you only gave him 5 games. You gave him 5 games into his 4th year of this same exact stuff. And to me, that's the thing about it. When you talk about the timing, this was too late. They shouldn't have waited this long. If they were on the fence enough about him before the season started, where 5 games in, they were willing to fire him at 2-3 with a chance to play for the division coming up on Monday night. If they were that much on the fence about him coming into the year, why didn't you fire him in the offseason when you and I said they should fire him, and you had a chance to go get Harbaugh and change the culture? You had a chance to go get Bill Belichick and change things. You had a chance to go get Pete Carroll, Mike Vrabel, etc. Any one of these guys and change things. Why'd you start the season with him if you were so on the fence about him before the season?
I think that was one of the things that Aaron Rodgers had some influence on. They probably had a good relationship. There probably was a conversation had in the offseason. You know, Rodgers had plenty of time during the injury to be sitting in Robert Saleh's office and just having these conversations. So, you know, you have to ask yourself, what kind of conversations were had in that office for Robert Saleh to continue to be the New York Jets head coach? And then moving forward, I think you probably saw some distancing between the head coach and the quarterback, your franchise quarterback as of now. And you kind of see some animosity in some of the interviews, some of the responses of Aaron Rodgers. Hey, let's take some accountability. Let's not keep giving excuses. I think right there you saw that divide in the head coach and a guy that wants to win, knowing that he's on his last to, who knows, this could be his last year playing in the National Football League at his age, coming off, right? So he's probably thinking like, hey, I need to go over not only the GM's head, I need to go over the GM's head, and I need to go talk to Woody. And that was probably the thing that had to happen between Aaron Rodgers and the head coach.
What's so funny is you say that Rodgers is probably the reason you want him here. And you're probably right, because Rodgers wants to run the show, right? Rodgers wanted to be the man in charge in the offseason. He didn't want someone standing over him. But it's one of the things we talked about. When Rodgers throws a terrible interception to Van Ginkel, the pick 6, or when he throws an interception over the middle that he should never throw, Saleh never even looks at him. He doesn't talk to him on the sideline. Like any other head coach in the league, grab him over and say, what the fuck are you doing, bro? You know what I mean? Like, you're the head coach. I get it. You're a defensive guy, but you're the head coach. And so, you know, people talk about, Aaron Rodgers.
Do you think there was a conversation had before that? Do you think that there was pressure put on Robert before that game going to London?
No, they said he was totally blindsided. He texted with Peter Schrager, who works for the NFL Network, and he's friends with Robert. And he said, Robert texted him, I had no idea. I came into work this morning like a regular day on Tuesday morning. Gave the press conference on Monday, the day after the game, the press conference he always does. I mean,
it just seemed like everybody saw he lost the team. It just seemed like he wasn't that same Robert Saleh that we saw energized. Obviously we see him running the stadiums pre-game. Did he run in stadiums in London? Maybe he didn't run in stadiums.
I haven't seen it the last 2 weeks.
And I think that's when Woody probably was like, listen, you even giving up on running stadiums. You got to get out of here. I don't know. Who knows, right? But I don't know. Hopefully it was a good move, and it, Jeff Ulbrich can bring some new energy to the team.
Let's get to Jeff Ulbrich for a second. But, first, I just wanted to say back to the Rodgers thing for a second. I don't think he's a coach killer. He's had 3 coaches in his career. This is going to be the 4th, right? He had McCarthy and then LaFleur. Was he happy at times with those coaches? No, but he never got them fired. So to say that Rodgers is all of a sudden a coach killer, maybe Woody Johnson's just weaker than the Packers owners, which is fairly easy to believe. But to say that Rodgers is a coach killer, I just don't believe that's true. You talk about Jeff Ulbrich. So before we get there for a second, I want to get into Jeff Ulbrich, but you've been in locker rooms. You are a guy who has had your coach fired. The first time your coach was fired, I think it was Rex Ryan. They said he was not coming back the following year, right? Was that like a shock to the system? Like Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, like this has got to be like a welcome to the NFL moment for them. And those guys who are usually loud and outspoken on social media, one of the things I complain and blame Saleh for, those guys were silent yesterday on social media.
I think it is going to be a huge culture shock for them. And you talk about, I came in with a veteran group and a very strong defensive group that were Rex Ryan's guys. And I remember veterans saying, hey, we need to win. And the reason we need to win is because we need Rex to stay here. Because those guys understood if a new guy comes in, he's going to bring in his guys. Not only is he going to bring in his guys, he's going to bring in his coach. And now you have to get accustomed to brand new coaches and brand new players. And now all of a sudden the guy that was the man last year because of this coach is not the man, because he's going to bring in his friend, all right, or the guy that he drafted or the guy that he trusts. And now it no longer is certain guys' teams anymore. And it's maybe this guy's team who's trying to bring in the culture that coach has already established. And now you have just so many different things going on in the locker room, so much turnaround coming from this. I think guys are like, oh no, like what's going to happen? Who are you going to bring in? Is it going to be a defensive-minded coach, an offensive-minded coach? Hey, is he going to bring in a new system? Like there's so many things that you have to learn when your head coach gets fired.
Well, the good news is Jeff Ulbrich has been in the building. He chose to stay in the building over going back to San Francisco this year when they were looking to replace their defensive coordinator. He's here. The players know him. They like him and respect him, but that's the difference, right? Talk about a player's coach, right? There's something to being a player's coach, which Saleh was. But then when they start walking all over you, it's not a player's coach. You become a camp counselor, right? You become someone they don't respect. There has to be a certain level of discipline. Phil Simms on the morning show on Boomer and Gio this morning on WFAN, he was talking about how when they had a new coach come in, he said, everyone sit up, feet on the ground, eyes on me, quiet in the room. All of a sudden, you have to grab a hold of a room that seems like Saleh lost the hold of the room. It was buddy-buddy with everyone. You know, but clearly they love him. So it's almost like a Dan Campbell, like you had a Rex Ryan. So how can Ulbrich come in with a discipline, with a toughness, but also still have the love and respect that he had with this team? What can he do that was similar to Rex or similar to what Dan Campbell has done in Detroit?
I think he just has to set his standards. This is his team now. He set his standards. It's no longer Robert Saleh's team. I'm pretty sure that, you know, when you're just a defensive coordinator, there's things that you want to say that you can't say because it's not your team. And now those things that probably been slipping through the cracks, not being held accountable or the discipline, those things that's been just swept under the rug, now he's probably going to address because it is his team. And, you know, I'm sure that he's probably going to be in constant communication with his players, trying to fit out the locker room, what is the energy, because there still is a lot of season left, and there's still, you know, there's a good opportunity for the New York Jets to be number one in the division.
Yep, they have a Monday Night Football game coming up against Buffalo, and if they win this game, they're in first place. So that's the crazy part in all this. It feels like chaos. It feels like same old Jets. It feels dysfunctional, and yet they're playing for first place on Monday with still plenty of season left to go. And that's the one thing that you think when he comes into the room now, the players have to feel like, the team has to feel like we're on notice now. And that's why I love that they did it going into Monday. Why wait for them to lose against the Bills on Monday to make a move? Go into Monday, playing for first place. The team is on heightened alert. We're on notice now. We have to, you know, and teams, by the way, after their head coach are actually really good the following week. We've seen it a couple of times with the Raiders the last couple of years, whether it was Antonio Pierce or Bisaccia with when Gruden stepped down. So Bisaccia, sorry, when Gruden stepped down. So can this be a moment that almost turns the season around, that galvanizes the moment, that galvanizes the team? I know you're not a baseball fan, but the New York Mets are in the playoffs right now. They're trying to go to the championship series tonight, right? A chance to go to the championship series. Early in the season, they were a terrible team. I was at the game when Jorge Lopez threw his glove over the fence into the crowd and said, we're the worst team in the league. And immediately they cut him. That was a moment where everyone's like, oh, we're on notice. If we don't answer, if we don't pick our game up, that puts us on notice. They cut him immediately. The team has galvanized. They're now one of the best teams in the league. They've been the best team in the league since, and they're in the playoffs, about to go to the championship series. So could this be a turning point in this Jets season where all the players are like, oh my God, we're on notice here. Let's get our act together. Let's play for this guy. Let's play for each other. And it starts Monday night, and now we can play for first place in the division against Buffalo.
I think the message from Woody Johnson is no one is safe. If you fire Nathaniel Hackett, it still is Robert Saleh's team.
Yep.
And guys are still in that system. No, he said, you know what? Fire the head coach. Let guys know that you're one decision or one play away, maybe from being cut, traded, whatever it is that we need to do to make sure that we win, we're going to do it. And I think that's the mindset that needs to happen moving forward for this organization if they want to turn it around and be a winning tradition. Like you talk about a quarterback is so used to winning, and that's what he's been trying to bring this entire time. And now that you have some accountability from Woody Johnson, people are starting to see he's not afraid to make that decision now. So now everyone is on notice. Like you said, everybody's attentive, and you have to pay close attention to detail. And so now those things that you probably didn't hear, or you sitting and you're lounging back in your seat in team meeting or special teams meeting, you're now attentive. And now things that coaches are saying, you have to pay very close attention to, because now if you go out and mess it up, you might be on the trade block. You might be cut. So I like the decision of going ahead and getting rid of the head coach and letting players know, from GM all the way down to your last guy on the roster. No one is safe. No one is safe, and we have to win, and we need to win now.
Yeah, 100%. I fully agree with you. And that's part of it, where Ulbrich already said this in the meeting. He said, this is on all of us. His first introductory press conference is like, I let my friend down. Saleh got fired because of all of us. So we all have to step up. So you're already seeing Jeff Ulbrich have that mindset of, okay, guys, like if you loved Saleh so much, because the players loved Saleh, if you loved him so much, maybe you should have been more disciplined. Maybe you shouldn't have gotten off to sluggish starts. Is there a sense in the room, like as a former athlete, again, I'm asking you because you played for a team, when you know, if you loved Rex Ryan or Todd Bowles so much, maybe you should have played better, right? Like, is there that sense of responsibility there?
Yeah, there is. And, you know, obviously, like I said, I think a lot of guys got comfortable with the coaching style. And I think a lot of things were, you know, being let go. This dates all the way back to Zach Wilson. You know, we talked an entire season about Coach Saleh not holding Zach accountable and putting the blame on other guys when everybody else was doing their job. And everyone in the organization, outside of the organization, looking inside out, outside in, understood that last year the problem was the quarterback. And it seems like Coach Saleh was just so protective of trying to keep his players safe and stay a player's coach and just sweep everything under the rug and make excuses. And guys get used to that. It's like parenting, right? It is.
Yeah.
If I tell my kid to do something, he don't want to listen all the time. Maybe he needs to hear from someone else. Or I'm coaching my son, and everything that I'm telling him, he's just going in one ear and out the other. And maybe when he hear it from another coach, or then I get his attention. And I think that's what happened. And I really think that this could be a good thing for the New York Jets moving forward with the opportunity that lies ahead on Monday.
All right. Adam Schefter just put this out. It's a statement from Robert Saleh. So you ready for this?
Oh, man. Here we go.
To the Jets organization, I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to work with so many incredible people. I will always be appreciative of the love and support from everyone at One Jets Drive. To all the players, I truly love and appreciate every single one of you. The character of the men in the locker room made coaching you guys the ultimate privilege. Through the ups and downs, each and every one of you showed up every day and attacked every moment. To my fellow coaches and staff, it has been an honor to work with all of you, every one of you. This guy's not dying, like he was just fired. Okay. Anyway, we're all in and made sacrifices for one another that will never be forgotten. I wish you all the very best of luck the remainder of the season. To the most impassionate fan base in the NFL, thank you for embracing my family. It has been a pleasure calling New York our home, and we will forever appreciate all the memories that were created here. With love and regard, all gas, no break. Oh my God! Still with the same lame catchphrases.
I do think he's a good guy. I really do.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you.
That entire message lets me know that he is a good guy. He does not have to put out a statement being fired not even in the middle of the season, like early in the season. Like he doesn't have to put out a statement. So
usually these guys just disappear.
Yeah, he'll get a job real quick, coordinating job, and I think a lot of guys are gonna. You know what I mean? Like he'll be okay. Robert will be okay.
And that's a big part of this. He will get a defensive coordinator job somewhere and will be really good at that. And maybe somewhere down the line, he'll end up getting another head coaching opportunity and he'll actually be better. I don't know, but it wasn't going to happen here. And he showed that he wasn't willing to change. He wasn't willing to be different. And I think he is a good person. I don't think he's a bad person. I feel bad for him. I feel sorry for him in a certain sense because a lot of things weren't his fault. And so that's one of the big talking points you're hearing is, oh, how is this going to fix the offense? The offense was the problem. How is this going to change Aaron Rodgers being on the same page? How is this going to fix Nathaniel Hackett? so many things weren't his fault. You talked about Zach Wilson was the quarterback. But at some point, all the things are not my fault till it becomes your fault. You know what I mean? So while a lot of things maybe aren't your fault, when you look at the grand scope of things, something had to change. And like you said, this is the biggest move. So I do want to talk about the offense, but first we got to talk about something else. You're wearing it. I'm wearing it. Our heads are hurting from the New York Jets because of how much they drive us insane. But luckily we got the melon hats to make us comfortable while we're being driven insane by this franchise. Tell me about what you got going on over there. I still didn't get the one with the rope on it. Kind of disappointed, but what I got, it's pretty cool too. And also, you're
got a little metallic, got that
smaller
like,
logo.
Yeah, you got a little metallic shiny over there. What
oh yeah, you like that?
Yeah, I mean, I like the hat, man. I told you, I want more. I like this style though.
We both got like the breathable thing on it a little bit.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a nice hat, man.
It's good quality. Go to melon.com, melin.com to be like us and wear these awesome hats, and then maybe your head won't hurt as much from the New York Jets.
Yeah.
Moving on, we have the offense, because a lot of people are saying, oh, well, how does this fix the offense? Saleh had nothing to do with the offense. And that's part of the problem, in my opinion. You're the head coach, and you had, quote, nothing to do with the offense. That's what I mean when I say I want to see him go over to the sideline, look at Rodgers in the eye and say, how the F can you throw that pick? You're 40 years old. You're in your 20 in the league. You have to know better. I hope that Jeff Ulbrich looks at this and says, hey, I got nothing to lose. You know, I can go over to Rodgers and say whatever I want because we're all on notice. And if this is the first step in the rebuild. So if I don't change, if I don't learn from my friend Robert Saleh's mistakes, we're all going down the drain anyway, and the season's going to be cooked. So how does this fix the offense? Because it puts everyone else on notice, and it puts Hackett on notice. It puts Rodgers on notice. I think now you have someone in Jeff Ulbrich there who has to hold the offense accountable. So what do you expect to see, if anything, different from the offense moving forward?
It almost makes you question, do you take Nathaniel Hackett's duty away of being the play caller and pass it over to Todd Downing, the pass game coordinator? I mean, he was pretty successful in the run game at Tennessee.
And apparently that's what Saleh wanted to do before he was fired. Now, it wasn't exactly the way people reported it, where it was like, oh, I'm taking it away. And then they quickly, before he could take the duties away from Hackett, they protected Aaron Rodgers and fired Saleh. No, that's not how it was. That's not what happened. But that was a thought that's already going to happen. I wouldn't be shocked if that still happens, because now it's Ulbrich's decision. Just day one, he wasn't going to make that decision. So, now he has time to sit and think about it and decide where he wants to go, what he wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, over 21-22, I mean, Derrick Henry rushed for 1,500 yards. And if I'm looking at this and I'm seeing how successful they were in the run game, the time of Derrick Henry, and looking at our two running backs that we have, the youth, the size, getting with the offensive line, I think that Todd Downing can possibly be the change that the offense needs in this in the play calling situation moving forward. And obviously, you could talk about bringing in Davante Adams. We'll probably get to that a little later on, but there needs to be some accountability as well from the outside receivers, veteran receivers, dropping balls. Like, everything needs to be cleaned up. Like, okay, we got Robert out of the way. Okay, that's the biggest problem. Now just keep going down the list of what are the problems. Like, if Allen Lazard is going to continue to drop balls, then make him inactive. Let him know that everyone's on notice. All right, and you play guys that can help you win. Yeah, I mean, you went and drafted, Malachi Corley. Like, let's see him. Can we see him?
And he was a healthy scratch last couple of weeks. That's got to be a coach's decision, right? I assume that's the head coach's decision and no one else's. You said changing the play caller could work, and that could work. I do also think it's not only changing the play caller. You could have, I think you bring in Davante Adams. You talk about sitting Allen Lazard. I still think the Jets are trying to trade for Davante Adams. I think that happens today, actually. And, it's 9:45. Usually these things happen like right after 10 a.m. I think that still happens. I think Davante Adams probably becomes a Jet. And so I don't think that's changing. But he's not getting the snaps from, Garrett Wilson. He's not getting the snaps from Mike Williams. He's getting the snaps from the guy who has 1 million drops on the season. It's supposed to be Rodgers' guy. The guy who's here to have the connection with Aaron Rodgers, which is Allen Lazard. I'm sorry. Yes, he's on the same page as Aaron Rodgers, but it hasn't helped them because in the biggest spots, he dropped a touchdown. He dropped a first down that right after that, Aaron Rodgers threw the pick six. So this guy has cost you in big spots too. So like while Rodgers hasn't been great, Allen Lazard has continued to cost you, continued with bad penalties. So if you're still looking at a Davante Adams trade with Joe Douglas, he's got to be on the phones right now, right? Because guess who else is on the hot seat? Joe Douglas, right? Like if they're looking at this, and even Woody Johnson made that weird comment about Haason Reddick. All right, show up now in his press conference yesterday. It's like, okay. The owner last time he did that was with you guys when Fitzpatrick was holding out, and then Fitzpatrick ended up showing up. But I'm not sure. Joe Douglas has to be feeling the heat pretty much, and I think he has to have a big week, whether it's signing Reddick or bringing Reddick in at least, trading for Davante Adams. Both of those things, I think, has to get done now for Joe Douglas. And I think the offense can improve. You mentioned changing the play calling. I actually think the way Rodgers wants to run the offense is get up to the line quickly, see the defense. You saw him do this in the second half against Minnesota. And make his own decisions. Exactly. And it works when he does that. And it's different than anyone else in the league. Everyone's running motion, gimmicky plays. Rodgers, where he's special is when he gets up to the line, sees what's going on, and can pick you apart. He can do that. Other quarterbacks and coaches can't do that. So I still think this offense could be extremely successful. I don't think it's broken like everyone says it is. I just think they need a little more urgency. They needed the offensive line to get fixed. They needed the head coach out, and maybe still need to bring in Davante Adams.
Hey, you talk about the offensive line. Okay, listen to this. 113 attempts, 402 yards, 3.6 yards per carry, and 3 touchdowns. That 402 yards puts the
That's
Jets.
Like Le'Veon Bell's numbers when he came to the Jets.
that puts the New York Jets at 32nd in the league in rushing.
Like I said, Le'Veon Bell-like numbers when he came to the Jets.
Yeah, with two stud running backs. And I think you just have to find a way to fix what's going on up front. And a lot of it has to do with Aaron Rodgers. Like Aaron Rodgers he wants to pass the ball and run it when he wants to run it. But I do think that Todd Downing could be the guy that could fix that. As a play caller, being successful in Tennessee with Derrick Henry, I do think that this is, being successful in the run game is going to open up that pass game. If you're not running the ball, you see what they're doing on defense. I mean, you don't even need to guard Allen because he's dropping balls, but then you just bracket Garrett Wilson, take away that, like the play action is not going to work because the run game's not going to work. So I think they need to find a way to make this a run-first team, find a way to continue to get the ball to the 2 running backs. Braylon Allen, I think, looks very explosive at this time. The kid's falling forward every time he's getting hit. I think that's a good, for me, I always think of staying in front of the chains. And now you can get to those second and manageable situations where now you can line up and let Aaron Rodgers get to the line of scrimmage, make those audibles, get the ball out quick, and make his guys go in space.
Yeah, and I think everyone, like you said, everyone's on notice. The defense also. I mean, maybe you start to see some changes. They blitz more. Sauce and Reed have been awesome this year. Carter's been awesome. So the corners have been good. Maybe they play a little more man-to-man and have this attacking style. They have this more come-at-you style. And that's what I want to see from Ulbrich. I don't want to see him turn into what Saleh did when he came here. Saleh was this, I'm going to get after it, fired up on the sideline, in guys' faces. And then once he became the head coach, wasn't that anymore. I want to see if Ulbrich stays with that same tough guy. He was a linebacker in the league, right? Tough guy mentality. I want to see that from him. And I think a lot can change. And here's the bottom line with all of this. 2 things can be true at once. Robert Saleh was a terrible head coach. I don't think there's a doubt about that. He was, and that wasn't changing. And that's why I said I want him fired before the season started. The Jets firing him the way they did and when they did is dysfunctional. It's very same old Jets. And so Aaron Rodgers can be on McAfee today. I want to hear him explain this one. I want to hear him talk about that. Do they get do they get Davante Adams? What happens moving forward? And, people in the media love saying same old Jets. I'm allowed to say same old Jets. I'm a Jet fan. I've seen it. The people in the media who love clowning the Jets and talking about, no, after firing a head coach, no team has made the playoffs. Right. But Bisaccia came in, or Bisaccia, I keep saying Bisaccia, a guy I know from WFN. Gruden was resigned. He didn't fire. He resigned. He was technically fired. And then Bisaccia comes in. They made the playoffs that year. We've seen it happen where teams Even Campbell, when down in Miami, when he turned the team around after the coach was fired. So we've seen guys get a little boost from the head coach being fired and kind of wake the guys up. I think this should wake the team up. And, maybe there's some credence now to the athletic report from earlier in the year that the team, the locker room's a mess and all that. Well, guess what? The head of that locker room is gone. Everyone's on notice. I think we see an immediate impact on Monday night. I
think so too. And, I would like to see a difference in the defensive play calling. Now this will tell you who was really the mastermind behind the play calling. Now that Robert Saleh is out the doors, Jeff Ulbrich going to bring in a different scheme just bring in a different scheme of, like you said, last year we've been begging for Sauce Gardner to follow number one.
Or DJ Reed, one of them. They're so good.
And we have DJ's
been better than Sauce this year.
Yeah, we have to find a way to blitz the quarterback as well, because that pass rush is not getting to the quarterback, which on the back end is causing the cornerbacks that we think that are good guys in coverage holding penalties and pass interference. Yeah. Like there's a split time that you have going up against some of the world's best athletes in a back pedal. That means you have to get to the quarterback. That means when you get to the quarterback, you make the quarterback throw throws and pressure him. It creates turnovers. But if you don't get to the quarterback and he has time, then you lose guys on the back end, and it causes the pass interference and the holding calls. And now you're facing extended drives, and now you're on the field longer than you think. And now your offense, who doesn't have any fire to it, are getting very limited offensive snaps because you're just extending drives due to penalties.
Yeah, it's true. And I think it starts also with, you talk about the leaders. Quinnen Williams, you're one of the leaders. He hasn't been as good this year as he was in past years.
Why is he off the field? I've never seen him run on and off the field this much in his career.
Yep, that's true too. And again, so you have a different person now there who's gonna hold a different standard. I think that's something that's gonna come with Ulbrich. I think also they're deeper at the interior than they are on the outside, and maybe that's why they're trying to, because Saleh loves rotating. So maybe Saleh was trying to rotate so much. I'm happy this era of Jets football is over. I also think this doesn't solve everything in a day. Like, I've been pretty positive on here, but I think this doesn't solve everything in one day. I think Jeff Ulbrich is ready for this opportunity. He coached at the Senior Bowl, and he talked about how it made him, he thinks he's now more prepared for the future opportunities he's going to get in his career. He talked about that at the time. I think he's right, and I think he's ready, but we'll have to see. Anything else you have before we wrap it up? Because we'll talk again before the game on Monday.
No, that is it, and hopefully we can, as an organization. I listen, man. I'm a diehard Jets fan now, being in that organization for a very long time.
That's the one thing. I almost was feeling like whatever after the game on Sunday. I was just like, you lost me as a Jet fan. Like I was just like indifferent almost.
Yes.
Because they just broke me. And this draws me back in. This makes me feel again, okay, there's a sense of urgency. We're serious about this season. And I think ultimately that's why Woody made the move.
And let's hope it's the right move moving forward.
I'm with you. I hope so, bro. All right. Till next time, everybody, like, subscribe, share the podcast. Believe in Jets, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. See ya. Coming up on the Believe in Jets podcast, you heard my instant reaction after I was sleeping. Bilal, did I tell you this? I was sleeping when the news happened because I'd worked like back-to-back overnights. So I was sleeping when the news happened. My phone was blowing up. Everyone's texting me like, Rami, you texted me, like, what the hell's going on? And then finally when I woke up, I did like an instant live on YouTube and whatever. But now we get the pro, the guy who used to play for the Jets, Bilal Powell, in here. We get his reaction and some of my more developed thoughts. Not that I'm not in a sleeping fog on the Jets and what just took place. So all that and a whole lot more coming up on the Believe in Jets podcast.